Welcome to Rock and Roll Odd and Interesting, where today we're covering a member of Nirvana, Soundgarden, and the U.S. Army Rangers. So strap in tight, because we got a good one for you today. That's right, today we're talking about Sergeant First Class Jason Everman. Now, to be able to say that you played in one of those two bands is astronomical in itself, but to say you played in both of them? Now that's something crazy. Let's explore this story. Jason was born October 16th, 1967, in Ozinki, Alaska. During his early childhood, he moved to Paulsbo, Washington, which is close to Seattle, which is where the grunge revolution would begin. Growing up in Washington, Everman didn't have the greatest family life. As not much is known about his early childhood, it is known that he had discipline problems, and his friends weren't the greatest of the bunch, but sometimes this aids in success. When he was in junior high, a couple buddies and him in their school decided to put an M80 into a toilet, blowing the toilet up. This would be enough for his mom to send him for some therapy, and this is where he first picked the guitar up. And during this time, at the age of 17, his mother sent him up to Alaska to his biological dad, where he'd work on a commercial fishing ship for the next 3 summers. Growing up, he listened to a lot of Black Sabbath and Kiss, which were early inspirations for him to pick up a guitar. His inspiration would shift when he came across a cassette mixed with anthems from all kinds of famous punk rock bands. He stated, "It was an instant connection. I'm not sure what this is, but I like it. It's making me feel something cool," unquote. And this is when the light in his head really went off. With most punk rock songs being fairly simple to play, composed of mainly power chords, he thought, hey, I can do that too. With his high school classmate, Chad Channing, Everman played guitar in a thrash metal band called Stone Crow. With Channing on drums, it was only a matter of time before his path would cross with the likeness of Kurt Cobain and Chris Novoselic. With all the musicians being from the Seattle scene, Kurt and Chris decided to recruit Channing and Everman. With Kurt ready to record his first album, Everman got roped into playing right away. You can see Everman here on the right side of the record. While appearing on the cover for the record, he didn't actually play any tracks on it, although he did receive $606 for his help. Now, Everman had hoped that he could help in creative areas of the band, but it just didn't seem to work out with Nirvana, with Kurt having a plan and doing what he wanted to do. But in 1989, Everman would still play a giant force in touring the US with Nirvana. Having a secondary guitarist really let Kurt focus on his vocals, which is a big help when you're on tour. But by the end of the '89 tour, Everman was ready to go a different direction. He quit the band with what seems like no hard feelings, and his first thought was he wanted to go trekking in the Himalayas. If a US tour wasn't enough to wear him out, I don't know what would be. But anyways, this was a childhood dream of his to go to the Himalayas, and the very next day he went out and bought some maps. While he was beginning to sort and pack gear for this trip, Kim Thayil decided to call him and ask him if he wanted to audition for the bass part in Soundgarden. And at the time, Everman's favorite band was Soundgarden. So he agreed, and they went on with it. After auditioning for the part, he did not think he'd be chosen for the bass player, but luckily enough, he was. In the fall of '89, he was officially a member of Soundgarden, which wouldn't last for all that long, because immediately after Soundgarden completed its promotional tour for Louder Than Love in the mid-90s, and that's where the band and Everman split up. After having some issues with Soundgarden's lead singer Chris Cornell, when it comes to getting fired in a band, the lead singer normally takes the role over the bass player. Unless maybe you're Paul McCartney, that is. Everman's quoted as saying that this really put his life in a tailspin, causing him to move out to New York. This is where he began living a normal New York lifestyle, getting a job in a warehouse and an apartment. But how did he go from living an everyday life to being a decorated U.S. military ranger? Well, in 1993, he was ready to craft the next chapter of his life. With both of his grandfathers serving in World War II, he'd always enjoyed the military and loved hearing stories about it. Everman's maternal grandfather was a tank commander in World War II. His grandmother's second husband got attached to a Marine platoon, serving as the medic for that platoon. completing 7 amphibious assaults in the Pacific. With military stories all around him and heroic actions, it's no doubt that he wanted to join the U.S. military. He's quoted as saying that he wanted to pursue a life that kept him actively engaged. He felt the U.S. military was the best way to do this. And in 1994, he traded his guitar for a rifle and enlisted in the U.S. Army as a part of the 2nd Ranger Battalion. And in the 2000s, he decided to return for more. Going through grueling Special Force qualifications, he was then assigned to the 3rd Special Forces Group. Getting deployed all over the world, including Afghanistan and the Middle East, he was a highly trained and experienced soldier. While receiving multiple awards while on deployment, he's a true American hero, and I believe they should make a movie about him. Following his military life, he went on to get his bachelor's degree and also got to play with Soundgarden again, as well as Mindfunk. He also founded a company providing adventure and travel to all kinds of military veterans. And with his success in the music industry and everything else he's done, it's one hell of a life. Jason still plays music to this day in a band called Silence in the Light. This band also includes former Delta Force operator Brad Thomas, along with co-founder and former Marine Raider Tyson Stahl on bass guitar, Air Force Command Master Chief Fred Conwell on vocals, and Navy veteran Justin Myers on the drums. This band contributes a portion of their music and royalties to charitable organizations that support veterans and first responders. That has been the incredible true story of Jason Everman, and I want to thank you all for watching. And if you have a second, go check out their music and tell me what you think of it. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching another episode of Rock and Roll Odd and Interesting, and we will catch you in the next one.